Yo, what is good, YouTube? Today we are back with another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet VGC video, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a team report for the team I brought to the OCIC over the past weekend. Now, a bit of backstory, I guess. I went 6-3 at the event. I was 6-2 heading into the final round, where unfortunately I lost to Joe UX9. Unfortunately, because of that, I was not able to qualify. I missed out based on resistance. He obviously did, I guess, go into top cut. I think he finished the tournament 10-4, so I think he was 3-2 in top cut, something along those lines. We're not 100% sure. But anyway, we're basically just going to go through the team I built, basically why I built it, how I got to the situation of why I guess I picked these mons, and yeah, so let's go jump into it, hey? So basically to start with, while I was doing a bunch of my testing for this event, there was a couple things that I guess I noticed. I tried a lot of different teams. I'll quickly just like click it over here. I'm not sure how good the view is going to be. Yeah, okay, so you can see my teams here, right? So obviously these copy teams were basically just me making variants, testing spreads, blah, blah, blah. But then, yeah, you can see here, this is a new team. I'm working for something else. But you see, I try like a Palafin Rain team. I think I had a video with that one. There's a couple different Talon Tusk teams. Again, like I put out videos for some of these. There was this Talon Tusk team here. This is the one that I was like considering bringing originally once I realized this team here didn't work. But you can see just here, there's a lot of Talon Tusk. There's a lot of different things I tested. A little bit of size spam. Wasn't a huge fan. Yeah, like there's just a bunch of different teams you're constantly seeing here. There's a lot of Talon Tusk, right? Talon Tusk here. Got a Moongas, Goldango. Basically, right, just a bunch of testing. Probably like, yeah, I'd say probably from like somewhere here up was basically, you know, the team I was kind of like working on, just trying to get a feel for everything. It's actually funny too, because the week before the event, I played a tournament, I think, with Talon Tusk, and I was like, you know what? It was 2 weeks before the event. Sorry, 2 weeks before the event, I was like, you know what? Talon Tusk is like really good. I really like this archetype. And then I was kind of like, umming and ahhing. I was like, you know, I just don't think I want to play Talon Tusk. Basically, I'm like, I don't want to do it. I'm just not going to do it. And then I tried a Roaring Moon team, and basically, I'm like, okay, this is the team. It's like Roaring Moon, Arcanine, Amoonguss, all that stuff. I played a tour with it the week before. I'm like, I don't like this team. I'm like, okay, let's start from scratch. Let's throw out archetypes. Let's just think about what I want to build with, right? And through all my testing, I decided that there was two Pokemon in particular that I thought were must brings. I'm like, basically, if I want to win this event or, you know, plays well, these are the ones I need to bring. And the first one was Fluttermane. Basically, Fluttermane, in my opinion, is probably the best Paradox Pokemon. We can get into that a little later, but the other one was Iron Bundles. So basically, there was basically, again, 3 Paradox Mons I was really looking at. It was these two and it was Iron Hands. But the difference was, I feel like Iron Hands, like the Assault Vest sets were kind of dropping off. I was having a lot less success with it. And then I honestly just felt like Iron Bundle, while, you know, the Hydro Pump miss sucks, it's just too good. It's like, ice coverage at the minute is just really, really insane. And then obviously, you know, Hydro Pump accuracy sucks, but still, it's such a good mon into like what's popular at the minute. So yeah, that's kind of why I decided that this was going to be like the 2 months I had to have on my team. And then the next mon for me that I really, really wanted on my team was Tyranitar. Now, Tita has a few things going for it. And the main reason I love Tita was a big reason why I wanted to build around Roaring Moon, and that is its matchup into Psy Spam. Basically, for those who don't know, Psy Spam, you know, if you look at like an Armourouge, for example, Armourouge isn't on my team, but I'll just put it here. Armourouge basically does 2 things, right? It clicks Expanding Force and it clicks Armor Cannon. Cool. Clicks Armor Cannon. This is the only real coverage you'll ever see. Like on ladder, you might see some shit like Aura Sphere, but really what's going to happen, especially like, you know, at an event like OCIC, like 1, if you got Aura Sphere, I know you've got Aura Sphere, but 2, if you're running like your dual stab, which you should always have, you're going to have something along the line of like Trick Room. How did I miss that? You're going to have Trick Room. Trick Room's like an absolute must have unless you're playing like a, you know, like the weak armor set, but like no one plays weak armor. So you're going to have that, and then you're going to have something like Expanding Force. You might have Protect, you might have like Heat Wave, right? Like basically, you're only ever running your dual stabs being Fire and Psychic. Tita does not care about obviously the Expanding Force. It does nothing to it, and it doesn't really care about the Armor Cannon. 1, obviously it resisted with the Rock typing, and then 2, for those who don't know, Sandstream basically boosts Rock types special defense stat by 1 in the sand. And then the other reason too is that the most common item on this Pokemon, and the item I love the most, is Assault Vest. I think the AV set is just like, it's absolutely insane. So yeah, this was basically the core I decided I wanted to build around. So I guess now we got to get into how I decided I wanted to, I guess, finish off the rest of the team. So I was looking at the team, and I was basically just, again, looking at all my options, trying to figure out the mons I wanted to pair with it, right? I'm looking at this, and I'm like, T-Tar is like, it's so good. Like, it's really good into bundle. Like, a Rock Slide into a bundle does like 80%. Against a Flutter main, like, a Crunch has a chance to one-shot depending on the spread. Another really important thing, too, is a lot of Pokemon are running Focus Sash at the minute, right? Again, you've got your Iron Bundles and your Flutter mains that both love Focus Sash. There's a few other ones, but they're the main relevant ones, and that's another reason, again, why Sandstorm is, like, really good, because you can drop it to 1 HP, Sandstorm picks it up. I actually had a game, too, where I think I picked up the Tatsugiri with something like that, where I was able to, like, hit the Tatsu with the CC while swapping in my T-Tar on the other side, and, like, the Dozo was still in the back. I think they actually swapped in the Tatsu for whatever reason. I dropped it to its Sash, and then I picked it up with the Sand, which was really cool. But yeah, so, like, this was essentially the core. And then from there, again, I was trying to just basically pick what I wanted to build around this team, and I was struggling, but I eventually ended up coming back to the Talon Tusk combo. Now, honestly, I think this core of 5 is insane. It's funny too, I actually came to this decision myself, like, was picking these 5, and then the homie Winter Knight literally said to me, he's like, oh, this team looks like really similar to Tollaweb's team. Completely unintentional. I had, I hadn't really, I think I'd seen Tolla's team, like, on stream for Orlando or whatever it was, but, like, I was never like, oh, I want to build this team. Basically, I ended up getting to this stage where these were the 5 mons I had. And I did a bunch of testing with a very similar team where I had D-Knight in the final slot. Like, that was the original version of this team. Actually, it was Dragonite in this slot here. And basically, the reason I had Dragonite was just to help my what's it called? My Expanding Force matchup. I guess my Trick Room matchup, Side Spam, whatever you want to call it. Because I didn't really have a way to, like, obviously T-Tar was really good, but I didn't really have a way to deal with, like, the variants that were like King Gambit without clicking Terror and stuff like that. Because a lot of people would bring stuff like King Gambit with low kick, or like an Iron Hands, or lead with something like, Hat or whatever, to basically get an alternative mode of Trick Room up while, like, obviously pressuring my T-Tar. But the thing sorry, I can't English. My biggest issue I had with this was my favorite D-Knight set into the Trick Room was actually Assault Vest. But the issue is, this has AV, this has AV. So I was actually playing a banded set. So I was playing like Terra. I think originally I had Terra Flying. So I was like playing like Terra Flying, Terra Blast. And then it was like Low Kick, E-Speed, Ice Spinner. So it was really good. Like, it was doing like pretty well, but I just didn't love the consistency into the Trick Room matchup. And then after I did a lot of thinking and whatnot, because essentially, like, the issue with the Trick Room matchup was the only other mon I, like, didn't hate leading into Trick Room was, like, Great Tusk. Like, because I'll get into it later, I had Focus Sash. But the issue with Great Tusk was I wanted to click Earthquake in case of, like, Indeedee redirection, right? Like, I wanted to be able to threaten the Armarouges, like, on turn 1 before they get the Trick Room up. And so that's why I ended up coming to the decision of Goldango. Now, again, you might think, like, this is pretty weird, considering we were going up against, like, obviously Armarouge, who's a fire type. They were commonly run with stuff like King Gambit. They were run with Torkoal. Again, Iron Hands, Hariyama. I even had a Hariyama Trick Room team. So, Goldango, like, at least, like, for me, when I first thought about Goldango on this team, I was like, I think Goldango fits this team perfectly, right? It gives me an immunity to fighting types. It works really well with Talonflame. Again, it's a mon that really pressures both Fluttermane and Iron Bundle. Its biggest issue, I guess, is, like, in the mirrors, it's not great. Like, I didn't love my Goldango in the Talon mirrors, which is funny because the one Talon mirror I did play, my opponent actually led both games Talon Goldango. And for me, I didn't care. I'm like, you can bring the Goldango. Like, I don't think it actually does much in the mirror, right? Because in the mirror, Great Tusk always outspeeds it. Obviously, like, my Talon, we'll get into it later. My Talon doesn't have Flare Blitz, so it doesn't really pressure it. But I also play T-Tar, which, again, T-Tar to me was like the best mon in the mirror. So basically, this is the team I got, right? This is, this was the team of 6. I was like, okay, sick. This is the 6 I need. I think this is the 6 to build around. So I'll quickly switch it here just so we can see the exact team I ended up bringing with all the sets and whatnot. But yeah, so I guess let's just kind of dive into the sets and why we have what we have. So again, Talonflame, in my opinion, is the best Tailwind setter at the minute. I think this mon's versatility is insanely good. Basically, with the set we have here, you see I've got the Terra Ghost and the Cupboard Cloak. Now, I've had questions in past videos. People say, like, why do you have Terra Ghost and Cover Cloak? Like, if you're going to Terra to dodge the Fake Out, you know, you don't need Cover Cloak. Or, like, if you're going to have Cover Cloak for Fake Out, you don't need Terra. It's basically, for those who don't know, the only thing faster than a Talonflame clicking Tailwind is either a Fake Out or Extreme Speed. And then on top of that, you have issues of Pokemon like the Flutter main who can outspeed it and potentially one-shot it. Same with the Iron Bundle. If Iron Bundle, you know, if you say, for example, click Fake Out and Hydro Pump, you will outspeed the Talonflame and you'll one-shot it. Basically, the Terra Ghost is there for matchups where I can't afford to be faked out or respeeded, right? Because they're the only priorities that are going to outspeed you, right? Obviously, you don't care about Sucker Punch. Nothing in the game that is faster than Talonflame has like Aqua Jet or, you know, Shadow Sneak, anything like that, right? The only Pokemon that can essentially hit this and break the Gale Wings is Fake Out E-Speed. That's why you have Terra Ghost, for people who don't understand. And it won me a game once. I was in a game where someone led with their banded E-Speed, and I just clicked Terra Ghost. And, well, in that situation, because their partner was also slow, I actually just burnt the D-Knight rather than setting up the Tailwind. But that is why that is there, right? For those who don't know, I get a lot of questions about it. Terra Ghost is so you don't get E-Speeded, and you keep your Gale Wings if they do click Fake Out. So let's have a look at the set. Brave Bird is just this mon's best stab move. Flying Stab is just, it's so good, man. Like, it just hits a lot of things. You have the ability to threaten like Pokemon like Fluttermane with a one-shot as well, especially if they're not sashed. Tailwind, as we said, this is the best Tailwind setter in the game. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. We'll skip Taunt for 1 second. Will-O-Wisp. Will-O-Wisp is insane because, again, it's like with the people were always like saying like, oh, Intimidate's dropping off because of Clear Amulet, right? And then people started realizing, oh, like, you don't want to run Clear Amulet all the time. Also, like, if you do run Clear Amulet, you're not up against Intimidator, blah, blah, blah. But regardless, if Intimidate, Clear Amulet is in the game, Will-O-Wisp is always good. 85% of the time, you're reducing the opponent's physical damage output by 50%. So really, really good. And then Taunt. Now, this is a slot where I understand the value of Taunt. I'm super, super glad I brought Taunt. I think Taunt is insanely good on such a fast Pokemon like Talonflame. I originally did have Flare Blitz in this slot. I ended up deciding like a day or two before I finished the team that I need Taunt. Basically, for those, again, who don't understand why Taunt is so good, the number one reason I think Taunt is insanely good is Amoonguss. Obviously, the ability to stop that thing from doing anything is fantastic. And then again, you've obviously got other Pokemon out there too, like the Deities, the Armrouges. Like, if you can somehow stop their Trick Room, it's very hard to stop their Trick Room, but if you can stop their Trick Room, their Follow Me and all that kind of stuff, it's really good. One of the really underrated things that, like, I, for some reason, in my testing, never came up, but when I got to my actually playing the event, it came up a lot, and that's the Dozo matchup. So I think I was one of the unfortunate people where in my 9 rounds, I had 4 Dozos. And basically the reason this was so good was because my opponents couldn't get their substitute up. So, like, what I mean by that is normally I would always go for the burn first anyway, right? Which is fine. But then what a lot of Dozo players want to eventually do to you, and this was also really good into like Lumberry variants, is what a Dozo player wants to do is they're going to hit you, protect, hit you, protect, hit you, protect. They're trying to maximize that leftover value, right? But if you can taunt them, then they can't maximize the leftover value. And normally, like, say, for example, it takes you, like, potentially 3 turns to kill a Dozo, right? Which, for me, that's how it was. My best way through Dozo was Flutter Bundle, and I believe it would take 4 attacks combined from the 2 of them to kill a Dozo, right? But if they were in a position where they could attack, protect, all of a sudden, they've got an extra 12 to 18% HP, and that can, like, basically just, like, ruin your day against a Dozo. So that was, like, something I picked up on, and it really helped me in Dozo matchups. Like, funny enough, like, granted, I missed 1 Will-O-Wisp for the entire event, and it was literally game 3 of round 9 against Joe UX9. Thank God, the turn I missed Willow, he missed Hydro, so it was like, okay, like, it was like, all right, even, blah, blah, you know, it was good. But yeah, I missed 1 Willow for the whole event. And it does suck too, because it's one of those things where, had I maybe hit that Willow, obviously, you know, he misses Hydro, I might have won, because it was a turn 1 Willow and a King Gambit that eventually took out my Fluttermane to win him the game. But yeah, so that is why we have the moves we have here on Talonflame. It's spread, honestly, I couldn't tell you what this is. This was passed to me by the homie Jonzu. He basically told me my Jolly Max back set was not the play. He gave me this spread, and I thank him, because if it wasn't for this spread, I probably would have lost one of my Dozo matchups. There was a situation where I Brave Birded another Talonflame. I did like 50%, so I took some chip. I swapped it out because I knew I needed it for the Dozo later. And then I swapped it in on a +3 order up, and it lived on 6 HP. So that's Brave Bird Recoil plus a +3 order up from a Dozo, and it survived. So God tier spreads, thank you, John. I did really appreciate this. I think I tweaked it slightly. I think he actually had a little less speed than Max, but I didn't like the idea of potentially, being slower than another Talonflame, especially too because a lot of Talons in the mirror like to taunt each other to stop the burn. So yeah. Anyway, the next one here is the partner in crime for Talonflame, and that's Great Tusk. Now, Great Tusk, this is a pretty easy one to talk about, really. I don't need to go too in depth. I got Focus Sash. Focus Sash, in my opinion, is probably just the best item on Great Tusk. You do hate not having stuff like the Life Orb on it, because, like, for example, I was talking about this mon into the Psy Spam. Originally, I loved this mon on Psy Spam because you could actually kill, your chances of killing an Indeedee in, like, a max bold Indeedee, if you go Terra with Life Orb, like, your chances of, like, one-shotting it is, like, 70%. So the only person who's living a Great Tusk Headlong Rush, Headlong or Close Combat, it doesn't matter. Sorry, no, it does matter because you need the Terra, so it has to be Headlong Rush. But yeah, like a 252 Jolly, Life Orb, Terra Ground, Headlong Rush will, like, almost always kill all Indeedee variants. Like, there's no way around it. You're just gonna kill it. So that was, like, one of my best things into, like, the Psy Spam matchup. Because, like, the only thing at that point that they can do to basically stop me is if they're Terra Grass, which, funny enough, I did run into on Terra Grass and Indeedee throughout the event, but it's very uncommon. But outside of that specific niche, I think Focus Sash is always better because your opponent is just almost always going to one-shot you anyway with anything super effective. Like, you can take some, like, physical attacks, obviously, but the issue is you're constantly always dropping your own stats. Your special defense is arse anyway. Like, you're probably getting, I'm pretty sure, like, at -1, you're getting one-shot by an Icy Wind from a bundle. Which, obviously, Iron Bundle hits pretty hard, but Icy Wind's, like, 55, and it's a spread move. Like, it's pretty rough. But this one's dual stabs are insane. Close Combat, Headlong Rush, both 120 base power here. Absolutely phenomenal. Like, you see this, insane. Obviously, the drawback is the defense. And then you got EQ. Again, main reason for EQ is just Talonflame. Like, it's a great spread move. You don't affect your own Talonflame. Your Talonflame with Tailwind buffs up the speed of this mon. Absolutely phenomenal. I will add, I originally was actually playing on this team. Again, I tested Life Orb. I tested AV. As I said, Life Orb was insane. The damage output was ridiculous. But again, inconsistent. And then AV, I just think AV's bad. Like, I've played people on Showdown who beat me because, like, they lived something. But I think in an open sheet format where if, like, I see your AV Terra Steel, like, I'm just clicking Shadow Ball and I'm probably, still fucking you up anyway. But yeah, so that's it for Great Tusk. As I said, not much to go into it. With this spread, it was just, I'm Focus Sash to max. All right, next one, Tita. Now, just because I kind of touched on it there, I'll touch on the Terra Flying real quick. I think Terra Flying is fantastic on this mon. The other options too, people run like Terra Ghost and whatnot. Basically, Terra Flying obviously resists the fighting type moves, which is like the scariest thing for you. And then on top of that, it pairs really good with Great Tusk, because if you're ever in a situation where these mons are on the board at the same time, and you want to click EQ, you have the option of Terra Flying, so you don't affect your own Tita. In terms of the moves here, we have Crunch. It's just your best Dark Stab. We have, or at least on this team, obviously people run Assurance, but I'm a Tailwind set, so I want to go first most of the time unless I'm up against opposing Tailwind. Actually, before I quickly go on further, I just remembered something. For those who don't know, a Booster Energy Iron Bundle will always outspeed Great Tusk at +2. Just going to put it out there. It's something that was very important going into the tour. Something I only like realized the night before when I was quickly going over some calcs. But yeah. Then we have Rock Slide again. It's just your best Rock Stab. I mean, obviously you can run stuff like the Rock Blast. I just think Rock Slide is just always better. We have Terra Blast because we're flying. And then Low Kick is really, really good into matchups like the obviously like the King Gambit. It's really good in. There's a couple other ones as well, just obviously depending how it all goes. But Low Kick can be really good, really nice into Roaring Moon as well. Actually, that was like another one. I think I got one shot with it. Really, really good. And then my spreads here are pretty simple. So if I just go Bashful here, you'll see. So I'm 104 speed. The reason I'm 104 speed is because this Maniac at max speed is 206. Obviously, if they're booster, then you still can't hit him. But obviously it would be 103, I believe, is the would obviously tie it, so 104 outspeeds it. We're 204 attack. Basically, we just want to hit that bump number. For those who don't know, if your stat ends in a 0, basically you get an extra boost. So if you have a look at this, if I drop this by 1, this will drop to 96. So it's just efficiency. And then I dump the rest in HP because this one's already so like bulky that like with AV and Sand, like, you don't really need to put any more points in this. And again, your defensive stats so high that you may as well just dump it all in HP. But this mon was the MVP of my tournament. I'll quickly just say that. Into the mirrors, this was insane. With Terra flying, you don't give a shit about Great Tusk. With the Terra Blast, you obviously have the ability to threaten a one-shot as well, depending on the spreads. Again, into the Iron Bundles and the Flutter Mains. I think a Specs Flutter Main, I don't know if you need Terra or not, did like 70%. I want to say that's probably without Terra, but like a Specs Flutter Main Moonblast does like 70% to this thing, which is like absolutely wild that, you know, it's super effective and doesn't pick up. But yeah, into mirrors again, super good into Goldango because like you can just Terra flying and crunch it. Like it was the MVP against the mirrors. It was the MVP into the trick rooms. I kind of touched on that a bit earlier. Like indeed, he can't touch it. Even Hat Dazzling Gleam from a Life Orb did like 30% to me one game, and I'm like, damn, that's like super effective. You're doing 30. The only issue this mon had was Gambits, which again we have low kick for. And then the real big issue was the Iron Hands, because Iron Hands has obviously Wild Charge for Terra Flying, and it has the Drain Punch for non-Terras. And unfortunately, in the two 50-50s, I did have my opponent predicted both times, where two different games where I was like, okay, you know, maybe they just go for the Drain Punch every time they predicted the Wild Charge on me, which did suck. But yeah, Tita, MVP of the tournament. So then Flutter Main. Flutter Main is the mon I had probably the most difficulty figuring out the set for this thing. I tested all sets that I thought were good. I started with the Booster Energy Special Attack set that Tolla had. So I tested that when I kind of finalized this team. In my testing prior to this variant of the team, I didn't try it. But I had the Boost Energy Special Attack, which I really liked. The issue was sometimes you want to switch out. I tried Life Orb. I didn't love Life Orb because on a team like this with Life Orb, I didn't like the idea of being like max, like max speed, max special attack. I wanted to be bulky for certain matchups. We'll touch on that again slowly when we get into the EVs. But yeah, didn't love the Life Orb. I tested Focus Sash. I honestly think, and you know, I've been criticized by some friends for this, I think Focus Sash Flutter Main shit. Obviously, I understand why you want Focus Sash on this thing. It just feels so underwhelming to boosted sets, in my opinion. You know, whether it be Specs, Life Orb, whatever. I just think they're all just far superior to the Focus Sash set. And then, as you can see here, obviously, we finished on Specs. Now, again, originally, this team was actually Specs Dango and Life Orb Flutter Main. But the biggest thing was, again, I wanted bulk, right? And we'll kind of touch on the spreads here. This spread here in particular lives so not in the rain, it lives an Adamant 252 Palafin Mystic Water Jet Punch on 1 HP. It also lives a Life Orb Adamant 252 Mimikyu Shadow Sneak on 1 HP. That is why we have this specific bulk. We will always live those. Then the 252 speed, originally I actually wasn't going to do 252 speed. As I said, we started with Booster Energy. But again, we eventually just decided, you know what, like, Boost is better on bundle, and 252 speed is just the way to go because of speed ties. So, like, I don't want to be in a situation where another Flutter Main KOs me, even though, like, no other Flutter Main KOs me outside of, like, I think, like, you need to be, like, either, like, Life Orb 252 or an opposing spec set with a lot more investment than mine, because I don't think my own Flutter Main KOs my own Flutter Main, like, 100% of the time. I think it's a roll in my favor. I'm not 100% sure. But, yeah, that's why we went with choice specs, basically. That way we can still fire off as much damage as possible while still being able to tank the hits we needed. And it also comes into play as well because you take stuff like, you know, the AV Gambit Sucker Punch, you live it, and stuff like that. These moves that normally pick you up, you live it, you know, with like somewhere between like 10 to 20 HP, which is, in my opinion, really, really important. Actually, I don't think it's that high. It might be like 5 to 10 HP, but like living that extra turn is super, super important. And then I guess the thing a lot of people that I played against also mentioned to me was the Terra Water. Like, a lot of people were like, oh, Terra Water, that's interesting. I even had friends saying like, oh, you sure you don't want Terra Fairy? The answer is no. And the reason it's no is a few things. One, my Dozo matchup, while was good, I went 3-1 against Dozo. It wasn't consistent. It scared me. Obviously, Flutter Main doesn't care about the order ups. We tank an Earthquake at +2, but what we couldn't take was Wave Crashes. Wave Crashes always killed us, and one Moonblast to just eat a Wave Crash, while, like, it was really good, because obviously when you've got that bit of extra bulk, the Wave Crash is doing more to the Dozo, but you still don't want to be in a situation where You fire off a Moonblast, he one-shots you, and then it's like, yeah, my Iron Bundle's there. My Iron Bundle has the ability to two-shot, but then stuff like Great Tusk don't outspeed it. The Tyranitar doesn't speed it. My Goldango doesn't outspeed it. The only Pokemon on my team that outsped a +2 Dozo were Fluttermane and Iron Bundle. And that's why, for me, I ended up deciding, you know what? It's really, really important that I can live one attack with Fluttermane, because Bundle's not getting one-shot by Dozo, for those who don't know. At +2, Bundle's living most attacks. Fluttermane isn't. So that's why we went for Terra Water. Partially, the other reason was actually for the Arcanines. Now, I'm shocked. Arcanine was like the 5th most used Pokemon at the event. Really used. I think a lot of the top teams had it. I think I played against like 1 Arcanine for the whole event, which to me was crazy because I wanted to build around Arcanine. Like my core originally before I got to this team was Arcanine, Amoonguss, and what's it called? Roaring Moon. That was the core I wanted to build around. And so I was like, you know what? Like my Great Tusk, because I'm not Life Orb, doesn't always pick up the Arcanines at -1, right? Because for those who don't know, if you're Life Orb Terra, you're always killing an Arcanine. Like even if they're like 252 with a lot of defense investment, I'm pretty sure you still always pick up. Because obviously Great Tusk is fucking broken. But yeah, this was the only Pokemon that gave me a guaranteed way to threaten a one-shot. Because obviously T-Tar Rock Slide at -1's not killing it. Iron Bundles might get it like 80% of the time, but even then it's still kind of scary. But yeah, so Terra Water, fantastic defensive typing. Gave me a lot of options offensively as well when I needed it. I think I only ever clicked Terra Water, Terra Blast once. I did Terra Water like 2 or 3 times in the Dozo matchups, but I never actually clicked the Terra Water just because, again, I was mainly using it for Dondozo. So it was like Terra Water plus Moonblast. But there was one game where I did one-shot an Arcanine, so it paid off. It did its job. Next one, another pretty simple one, and that's Iron Bundle. This spread is arguably just the most optimal. I did a bit of testing. I tried Covet Cloak. I tried Assault Vest. I tried Focus Sash. Again, Focus Sash doesn't work on this team because of T-Tar. For those who don't know, I would never run Sash, Flutter, or Bundle with T-Tar. You're just going to kill your own Sash. It's pointless. That's why it's on Great Tusk. You can't break the Great Tusk of Sash with your own T-Tar. But yeah, the set is just the stock standard one. It's Icy Wind, it's Freeze Dry, it's Hydro Pump, it's Protect. Icy Wind's your speed control. Freeze Dry is arguably your best Ice Stab. Obviously, Ice Beam does more, but this allows you to hit water types. Water types are really good. It's also really good into the bundle mirror. You do like 70% to bundle, which is like pretty solid. And then Pump, obviously, 80% of the time it's going to win you the game. And Protect, I didn't kind of touch on it. I only have Protect on 3 mons here. Protect is really important for stalling at Trick Rooms and whatnot. Also, it's just really good for playing mind games. Or like, for example, if I know my opponent's going to like protect their Fluttermane, like, which is like something that happens a lot in the mirror. Like if you've got like your bundle against their Flutter, then what they're going to try to do is protect their Flutter while they try to drop your bundle speed to then drop your speed again the next turn for your Fluttermane to outspeed and pick up the KO. Very, very common in the mirrors. So yeah, again, we're Booster. The reason we're Booster is other bundles. Also, again, really good for like Great Tusk. If you don't ever get your Tailwind up, you outspeed a +2 Great Tusk with this mon. Always. Like, you'll always do it. Same with Goldango. You'll always outspeed it, even if they're Tailwind or not. Terra Ice. This was a kind of like something I never really tested. And then the homie Jonzu kind of mentioned it. And then I did a little bit of testing. And I was like, look, this one's like Terra doesn't matter. I like never Terra it anyway. At least not now. But it ended up being huge because Terra Ice into Dozo matchups as well is absolutely enormous. It takes your freeze dry from doing like, you know, maybe like 30-something% to like low 40s. Like I think depending on obviously how bulky the Dozo was, like I was doing like a consistent like 43%, which when you pair it with something like Fluttermane Specs is really good because you'll do like a 43% and then your Fluttermane will do like 30%. And then there's like a chance you can pick up the next turn with the freeze drive, which would then allow you to take the Tatsugiri. So stuff like that, depending on your roles and whatnot, was really, really important in some matchups. And there was one matchup again where I terrored the Flutter, so like it wouldn't die to the wave crash. But then I was like, damn, if I just Terra Iced, I would have killed it anyway and didn't have to waste my, well, not waste my Terra, but I wouldn't have had to Terra the Fluttermane there. Another really important thing too with freeze dry that we didn't touch on, and why this mon is also so good into Dozo, is even if you're up against Scarf Tatsugiri, you're going to outspeed and you're going to one-shot it. Fantastic mon, honestly. This is a mon that I wish I had more practice with leading into the event, because in the last game, my last set against Joe's MVP, in my opinion, was clearly the Iron Bundle. It just sat there the whole game. Everything next to the Iron Bundle was such a threat. I had to go after that instead of him. And I think it's what won him the game. And also, I didn't bring my bundle to a single game that set. And after the set happened, I'm like sitting there sad. I'm like, damn, I lost. I like thought to myself, I'm like, why did I bring Fluttermane every game? Fluttermane every game did nothing. It like, I think like game 2, it kind of helped me win the game. But game 1 and game 3, King Gambit just ate it for breakfast. And it was one of those things where I'm like, damn, Scott, you're a freaking idiot. Like, I need more practice with the bundle. It's definitely a mon I want to use more in the near future. Yeah, just gotta practice with it. And then the last mon, again, this mon is like the mon I brought the least for the whole event, but when it came, it was the MVP. So again, for those who don't know, this is a pretty standard Goldango set. It's Life Orb, Terra Steel, with its dual stab at Nasty Plot Protect. Again, look, I try to be somewhat educational with these videos. For those who don't know, Make It Rain is like arguably the best stab move in the game. It's a spread 120 base power move that's 100% accurate. It's basically like a slightly less damaging Draco Meteor that hits everyone, but instead of reducing your special attack by 2 stages, it only does it by 1, which is absolutely insane. This mon has one of the best abilities ever in Pokemon. You can't be status, which means you can't be slept. Really good into the Amoonguss matchups. You can't be Thunder Waved by like annoying Grimmsnarls. You can't be burnt, which doesn't really matter. You can't be, again, you can't be poisoned, which again doesn't matter. You're a steel type, but yeah, just an insanely good ability. My spread tier 2, I ended up going a ridiculously bulky set. So when it came to this mon, originally I had something like this, right? It was like timid. Where are we? Timid. Down the bottom, of course. So originally I was playing like something like this, yeah? It was like maybe like this, right? It was just like because I'm Life Orb, it was probably like, I think I actually had this. Off memory, this was the exact set I was running, and then 4-4. 4-4. So this is the set I basically played for ages. And then I just realized something. In mirrors, right, in the Talonflame mirrors, max speed sucks because, again, this here is like kind of the core. Like some had T-Task, some didn't. But Talonflame Tusk with Flutter Bundle was like the core of like almost every Talon Tusk team, right? They all outspeed the Goldango. So the only time max speed Goldango mattered in the mirror was if I was up against an opposing Goldango. But like, you also just don't want to be a ghost type in front of an opposing Goldango. So after some testing and, you know, talking to the boys and whatnot, again, originally this was a Specs Goldango as well. So like this was like T-Bolt, and I think I had T-Bolt Power Gem on that slot. But yeah, so I ended up deciding, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go modest 252. I put the HP up to 189. For those who don't know why we go 189, it's to optimize Life Orb chip. Basically, the way Life Orb works is it does 10% of your HP, right? The Pokemon always like rounds down, and it always Pokemon always rounds down. So for example, if I have 189, I'm taking 18 damage, right? If I go to 190, I'm taking 19 damage, which is, I don't have a, wait, yeah, what? Yeah, so now I'm taking 19 damage to my Life Orb. So this here allows you to obviously take like 1 less, which, you know, can be really, really important at the end of the game. Like, you know, maybe you live something on 1 HP that you normally wouldn't. So yeah, that's why we went to that. And then we dumped the rest in speed. Reason for this is basically, if you have a look at my T-Tar, right, it hits 104. Obviously, I don't have to go 104. 107 is like ideal because then you outspeed max speed Dragapults, which I actually did play against like 2 Dragapults, which I was actually shocked at. Like in all my preparation leading up to the event, I don't think I played a single Dragapult. I ended up playing like against 2. But then like I think I could have gone for something like this, which would have been like fine. Like I like getting my defensive numbers to just even numbers, but I was just like, you know what? There's no point. Oh, what just happened there? I'm like, there's no point. I hate fucking odd numbers. So I was like, let's just put that in the speed, make it 210 flat. Sorry, 220 flat. 220 speed's pretty good under Tailwind, so that's what we went with. And as I said, this mon ended up being the MVP in some games that it came to. I think in my round 5 against Casper. Casper was the first Trick Room team I played against. I kind of touched on it in my recap of the event. But basically, this specific set, by the way, for those who don't know, can live a Torkoal Eruption from full HP like 70% of the time. And this is like a 252 quiet Torkoal. So like I was using Sand, obviously, for those who didn't know, to get rid of the sun. And he didn't have a boosting item. I think he was... I forget what item he had on the Torkoal, actually. But he didn't have a boosting item. And it actually won me the second game because he just assumed he was always going to kill me there. And yeah, I just dropped a Make It Rain. He Terra Grassed, and I did like 95-ish% to the Torkoal and ended up killing it later with the Sandstorm. Because like obviously like I swapped the Sandstorm in on the other slot, clicked to Make It Rain. And yeah, it was like just a lot of damage. Really, really good mon. It also made my my trick room matchups so much easier. So again, I think I touched on it at the start of the video. It's been like 30 odd minutes, so like I forget. But for those who, I guess, on paper were wondering like why Tita Goldango, right? This was my lead every time I played Trick Room. Why this is my lead, right? The reason was because Tita basically threatens a one-shot on everything that doesn't Terra in the mirror, right? So for example, the most common matchup you're gonna get is Indeedee Armarouge, right? So my thought process was this: if I click the crunch on Armarouge always, right? Always click crunch on Armarouge. If Indeedee redirects with the make it rain, you're always killing Indeedee, and the make it rain to a standard Armarouge is still like 40-ish%. Really, really good. But if my opponent goes for something along the lines of, let's say, wide guard plus Trick Room, so the Armarouge wide guards and Indeedee sets up Trick Room, then we just take their Armarouge off them. So in a 3v4 where I have Protect on Goldango, I have Terra Flying to get around the fighting moves from stuff like Hariyama, a potential King Gambit low kick. It's really, really good at just stalling out the Trick Room and making sure my opponent can't do anything. And then alternatively, the other option my opponent has is Terra Fairy Follow Me. Because obviously, you want to redirect the crunch coming into you, but with a modest 252 life orb, I think if my opponent doesn't have Psychic Seed, I like almost always KO. Like I forget the exact percentage, but like I almost always KO Indeedees depending on their like, because if there's something like max HP, bold, max defense, and they don't have the Psychic Seed, I'm always one-shotting them. And even if they have the Psychic Seed, I think I'm doing like 86%. So that puts me in a situation where if they go for like Follow Me, Trick Room, Terra Fairy, then I can potentially one-shot the Indeedee and then one-shot the Armarouge. It just made the mirrors so consistent. It was also really good into the mirrors where like my opponent would go something like the Hat, for example, right? Because there was the alternative modes I went up against where people would go something like Hat plus Hariyama, right? And then what that would allow me to do was, sorry, not Hariyama, the other one that they have. What's his name? Why can't I think of it? Iron Hands, the other Hariyama. So what that would allow me to do is go for something like the Make It Rain into a potential crunch onto the Hat, which would like at that point basically kill the Hat. And then you can start playing mind games where you've obviously, I've got Protect on this, I've got Protect on Task. You can basically start playing mind games. And that was essentially the way it worked. Unfortunately too, I am sad. I went 1-1 against Trick Room. I played up against Calvin. I forget his last name. He finished like top 8 at Worlds last year. He beat me with the Trick Room. Game 1 was really close. Game 2 was me just being an idiot. I was almost certain he was going to Terra Grass Follow Me, and he didn't. So I Terra Flying'd my Tita, and then he did like 95% with the Expanding Force next turn. It was really dumb. I should have stuck to the line. I knew that almost always worked. It was just consistent, but is what it is. I choked. But yeah, anyway, guys, that is the team I brought. Again, I went 6-3 at OCIC. I was like literally this freaking close to going 7-2. Joe basically he clutched up. I'll give you a brief little story, I guess, since we're already 40 minutes in. But in the mirror, in the matchup, basically went to game 3. It was a pretty close series. I had so basically what happened was it was his Gambit, his bundle, my Talonflame, my Tita. I had burnt his Gambit, and I'd previously rock slided, putting his bundle on like 20%. Yeah. And throughout the 3 sets, his Gambit and my Tita were like the MVPs of each team throughout the all 3 games. And his Gambit was like burnt like 70% HP with his Iron Bundle sitting there. And I've got my Talonflame, I've got my Tita, right? I'm like, you're burnt. You're never tearing this, and I need this gone because my Flutter's in the back. Again, big mistake. If my bundle's in the back, I'm almost certain I win this set. But what I do is, for the first time in literally 8 games, in like 8 turns, I clicked a low kick on Gambit. Because every time his Gambit's there, right? And look, Joe's a really good player. He held his Terra, like it was mind games and whatnot. He never once Terra Flying to this motherfucker. I'm telling you. In front of a T-Tar with low kick, he never Terra Flying it. Never. I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? I could take his Gambit at any time. That's why I burnt it as well, right? Like, I was in a situation where what happened turn 1 was I rock slided and tried to burn. I missed the burn, and on turn 2, I went for the burn again. I was in a situation where I could have actually Brave Birded the Iron Bundle and killed it, and then low kick left. I killed both his mons. Game's done. But I'm like, nah, like Joe's a good player, blah, blah, blah. He protects, which I kind of predicted. That's why I went for the Willow again on turn 2. But then on turn 3, I was like, all right, I can Brave Bird the Iron Bundle slot, and I can low kick him. And then the motherfucking Terra Flyings, he's like 70% HP burnt Gambit. I drop it to like 30-40%. And then he brings in his fucking Amoonguss and he Poland puffs it. And I'm just like, man, like obviously he predicted the taunt, which was good. But then it put me in a situation where my mons were too weak. He was able to like cycle in and out his Amoonguss. He got my T-Tar asleep, which that a big reason I lost game 1 and game 3 was because he put my T-Tar to sleep. And then yeah, he proceeded to just basically beat me up with a burnt King Gambit that he kept Poland puffing. And it was really sad because all I had to do turn 2 was low kick it, and the game was done. I had Tailwind up. The Iron Bundle was never going to be able to play the game again. He had no way through my Flutter main. Like, the mons he had in the back were Great Tusk and Glamora, which obviously Glamora, like, you know, doesn't care that much about Flutter main, but it doesn't want to eat 2 Spec Shadow Balls. But here's what it is. I choked. You know, GG to Joe. He's a great player. And look, I'm glad that at least, like, at the end of the day, you know, a bunch of us, I think there was like, you know, 30, 40 players that ended up with 6 and 3. I'm the only one who can say Joe UX9 eliminated them. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, guys, that's going to be the video. I'll probably, if I remember, I'll chuck the team code up here. It was in the last video, but I'll hopefully just put it up over my voice. You don't need to see the recap of the team anymore. But yeah, as always, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Really, it does mean the world to me. I did kind of mention too in a community post, I'm going to try to start doing more like team building videos. I kind of want to do like one discussion based video a week, something similar to this, where, you know, obviously I'm not going to go like 40 minutes in depth with it like I have for this one, but, you know, I might say pick a mon. I might put up community posts too and be like, hey, which one of these 3 mons do you want me to build around? Then we'll build a team, and then that'll be the team I use for the week. I might, you know, have 1 team building video and then 2 videos that week where I, yeah, just, I guess, test the team. And then maybe, depending if I get time to play tours on the weekend, on like a Sunday night, I might be like, hey, here's like my run. Here are some games from my run. But yeah, anyway, that's it, guys. As I said, like, comment, subscribe. I do this every time. But yeah, I love you all, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.